Hey everyone, Gallifrey797 here. Welcome to today's breakdown for the finale of Doctor Who Flux Chapter 6 titled The Vanquishers. Last time we saw the Doctor and friends, the Sontarans were attacking the two groups, including Yaz, Dan, Jericho and Joseph Williamson, and also Carvanista and Bell, and the Doctor was about to be vaporised by Swarm after he just killed Tet Tayun. So this video I'll be breaking down the plot, all the Easter egg, references, all that good stuff. Let me know your favourite moments, and also let me know if I've missed anything that I didn't spot that you did in the comment section below. So Yaz saves her group by using the dangerous door from the last chapter to wipe out the Sontarans, electrocuting their probic vent, the Sontarans' weakness. In a fun sequence, they try different dangerous doors until they find the one that takes them to present day, which has the same date on the door that the episode aired. They find Kate Stewart, who analyses them using a device which locates Artron energy from Yaz and Dan, which is what they've gotten from travelling in the TARDIS, which she somehow brought to the underground tunnels. Artron energy was first mentioned in The Death of the Assassin, when the Doctor went back to Gallifrey, and has been mentioned in the 13th Doctor's era, including Rosa, where it's detective from Crasco, who used a vortex manipulator to try and change history of Rosa Parks, and Spyfall Part 2, where the Doctor explains how her and Yaz weren't killed by the Kasavin because they were fizzing with it. The Doctor manages to run away from Swarm Nazor to a teleport with the Ooze help, but just as she's about to teleport, Swarm touches her head. The result of this splits the Doctor into 3 separate versions of herself, one being with Carvanista and Bell protecting the ship from the Sontarans, another with Yaz's group, and one still remaining on a Division ship in between universes. Swarm say that they have everything they need, as him and Azure have Division, the power to destroy the universe with the controls to activate the Flux, and the Doctor, who they wish to torment. The Sontarans offer an alliance to the Daleks and Simon to work together against the Flux. He says apart from the Rutans, who are, quote, hideous scum and must be obliterated. They're a race who look like amorphous green blobs who waged a millennium-long war with the Sontarans, being mentioned in various Sontaran stories, and being seen in the 4th Doctor story, The Horror of Fang Rock. The Doctor explains that because she's taken off her conversion plate, which was put on by the Ood after her transforming into a weeping angel, being touched by Swarm and being outside the universe, has split her into 3 different realities. The Sontarans' base is at the Dark Energy Facility, which is a good place for their mysterious goal. The Grand Serpent, who was revealed to be helping the Sontarans, takes the credit for this invasion of Earth. The Doctor takes charge of the Lupari craft that the Carvanista and Bella are on, and flies into the biggest ship, but gets stopped by the force field. The Doctor's plan is to get captured with Carvanista and get Bell on a solo mission. Back on Division, Azure opens a fobwatch which has all of the past Doctor's memories, which she knows nothing about. The Doctor gets transported to the black and white world, which we saw at the beginning of Chapter 2 of Flux, which had the floating creepy house also featured in the last chapter, when she got glimpses of that memory. Swarm explains all her past memories are within that house, and have taken that form, which is a nice metaphor. Swarm starts to dismantle the house. He starts to reverse the process and then starts it again, and says he can do this forever, which teases their ambition. In the Liverpool underground tunnels, Yaz tells the Doctor her and Dan have been stuck for a few years, which homages the scene in Revolution of the Daleks, when she reunited with the fam after 10 months for them, but a few decades for her stuck in space jail. Joseph Williamson explains the origins of why he built the tunnels. There's no explanation to how, but he explains that suddenly he started to transport to different worlds and times, and the Doctor explains this is due to multiple rips in the fabric of space and time. How they are caused, I didn't quite catch that. He built the tunnels to structure the multiple rips in time and space, and build various tunnels to protect people from the Flux, which he witnessed. The Doctor tells Joseph well done and says she's giving him a Paul Hollywood handshake. This is a reference to the presenter on the Great British Bake Off, who shakes contestants' hands who have met high standards of baking. Kate Stewart reveals the Sontarans are using the Dark Energy camera site to get more information about Earth, and uses a base for their psychic command centre, and using humans to fuel their work. Kate suggests they need to get people undercover in there to see what's going on, and Jericho suggests Claire, who was the person who got sent back in time by a Weeping Angel in Chapter 1, and was used as a host to lure the Doctor back to Division by the Weeping Angels in Chapter 4, Village of the Angels. They plan to use a Sontaran weakness to infiltrate the base by blackmailing a Sontaran who's addicted to chocolate and raiding corner shops on Earth. The Doctor says how she'd love to have a little corner shop of her own and what she'd have in it. This is a reference to the Series 3 opener, Smith and Jones, when the Doctor expresses his love for a shop when in a hospital on the moon, being invaded by Jadoon alongside Martha Jones. The Doctor, Yaz, Dan and Jericho pick up Claire from 1967 and tell her they need her percipient abilities, which we saw when she hosted the Weeping Angel inside her mind, to go undercover on a Sontaran spaceship. The Doctor and Carvanista are contained in the Sontaran ship. The Doctor references her memory she has of Carvanista when she was a fugitive Doctor, which we saw in Chapter 3, Once Upon a Time. He reveals he can't say anything as he has a chip in his head that Division put in there, and that if he talks, it will kill him. From the conversation, it's hinted that he was her companion and that she left him in not a good way. On Division, Azor and the Doctor compare their different ethics and how what Azor sees herself as right, wanting the destruction of the universe, opposing the Doctor's view of life. Azor reveals that the Flux's last place to destroy is the Temple of Atropos and the release of time, describing it as an entity and their saviour. Azor and Swarm want to replicate how they were left suffering after being imprisoned by a Division. They want to destroy the universe and keep reversing it back and forth on a loop, leaving the Doctor in suspended animation so she can feel it all, replicating their pain that they've suffered. The Grand Serpent and the Sontarans have come to take the Doctor, but Sontarans reveal that they've killed all the Lupari by airlocking them into space. The first Doctor companion, Stephen, was nearly suffocated to death in an airlock in Galaxy 4, and Sally Katarina, who died after opening an airlock and expelling herself out into space, along with Kirkson, who was keeping her hostage, in the 12-part epic, The Dalek Master Plan. Joining Vinda and Di, they're running inside the passenger they are stuck in. Di reveals how space works differently in there, and how Belle, who Vinda's been searching for, is not here, as Di's the only one left inside, after everyone else was extracted to make the bridge to Division for the Ravagers in the last chapter. Di has dug up a system on the edge of the passenger. Vinda shoots it, which allows him to escape outside the passenger, but into another void, which the Doctor met Swarm in Chapter 1, The Halloween Apocalypse. Claire and Jericho have infiltrated the Sontaran base. Their plan is to use humans to psychically predict the space-time coordinates of the final Flux event that Swarm and Azor are cooking up. Whilst they're going through a very painful experience, the Doctor is being tortured by the Grand Serpent to find out where Kate Stewart is. The visuals of the red light on the Doctor remind me of when the Ninth Doctor was tortured by Henry Van Statten in Series 1 Dalek. Jodie gives a brilliant performance playing the Doctor's comedic side whilst being a threatening presence, winding up the Grand Serpent about his past and ego. He tries to kill the Doctor using the snake form which he killed people working for UNIT in Chapter 5, but fails as the Doctor is split across 3 places and can't get a physical lock on her. The Doctor is saved by herself, freezing the Grand Serpent with the sonic screwdriver. She turns what he was torturing the Doctor with onto him. The Doctor retrieves Belle, who's sabotaging the Sontaran ship, and Dan releases Carvanista, who's not happy after finding out his species has been wiped out, not taking to Dan's humour lightly. Dan references Fetch Your Dog, which the Hermit from Nepal predicted in Chapter 5. The Doctors in the TARDIS communicating with Jericho and Claire, saying they are still deciphering the psychic data from the transmat ring. Belle reveals she's logging Sontaran transmissions of the message we saw at the beginning of the episode. The Doctor makes contact with her other 3 cells telepathically, which she last used going into Claire's mind in Chapter 4 to communicate with the Weeping Angel inside her mind. It's revealed that the Flux is made of antimatter, as it's made outside the universe. The antimatter universe was seen in classic multi-Doctor story The Three Doctors, where Omega was trapped in. Claire's advanced psychic skills reveals the location of the final Flux for the Sontaran's plan. The Grand Serpent uses the Sontaran system to detect Artron energy to find Kate Stewart's location on Earth. Vinda contacts the Doctor using the device she gave him at the end of Chapter 3 to locate him and Di from within the passenger. One of the Doctors and Yaz go to the tunnels with Kate Stewart and Joseph Williamson, as the doors are acting wild, which the Doctor explains is due to the Flux manifesting itself in the past due to the tunnel being from various times. Joseph Williamson returns back to his own time due to him being too important to history, saying his final goodbyes. Vinda and Belle and Dan and Di are reunited with one another. Di mentions how Dan was late, referencing Chapter 1 where they were going to go on a date, but Dan never showed up and she was taken by Azor. And Belle revealing to Vinda she's having their baby, only if the universe survives. The Doctor works out the Sontaran's plan is to wipe out the Daleks and Cybermen using the Flux to be the dominant army, with the Sontarans being behind the Lupari shield, becoming the ultimate vanquishers of the universe. The Doctor casually name-dropping the title of the chapter. On Division, the Doctor requests Ood to minimise the final Flux event as she distracts the Ravagers. They take her to the planet Time to be a sacrifice to Time, the entity Time, as she's the first Time Lord, referencing the Timeless Child and how all the Time Lords come from her. One of the Doctors, alongside Vinder, Bell and Carvanista, are dropped off by the other Doctor into the Lupari fleet as a counterplan to the Sontaran's plan. The Doctor with Yaz, Dan and Di go to retrieve Claire and Jericho, but Jericho loses his transmat ring, with Claire getting away. With his being destroyed by the oncoming Sontarans, he stays behind to make sure Claire gets away. The Daleks and Cybermen armies enter behind the Flux shield, with Daleks having the same interior as the one we saw in Revolution, and the Cyber Warriors with guns first seen in Doomsday. The Sontarans lower the Lupari shield, letting the Daleks and Cybermen ships be destroyed by the Flux. We cut to Division, where the Ood is the only one left on the ship, saying he's done all he can to minimise the final Flux for the Doctor. Carvanista, using his inside-out knowledge of the Lupari ships, takes control, changing the formation of the shield and incapacitating the Sontarans on board. Vinder and Bell in the Lupari ships destroy the Sontarans' comms. The Doctor tries to get Jericho out of the Sontaran ship, but with the transmat ring broken, the transmat port outside blocked by the Sontarans, and the TARDIS being unable to get him due to the gravitational pull of the Flux, Jericho is sadly out of options. He reflects on his life and the amazing experiences he's gained being with Yaz and Dan for the past few years, and is killed by the Flux. Back on the TARDIS, Di tells one of the Doctors that the passenger is endless inside, which she suggests could be used to absorb the rest of the Flux. On the planet Time, the Doctor, taken by Swarm and Azor, meet the entity Time, who goes from purple particles, which you saw in Chapter 3, Once Upon a Time, to take the form of Swarm. The Flux has failed at releasing Time from Atropos, as the Doctor reveals she's been in 3 different places at once, putting a stop to the final Flux's destruction, using the passenger to absorb the remains of the Flux. Swarm offers the Doctor to Time, but because Swarm and Azor failed, they are absorbed by Time, with the watch held by Azor being dropped to the ground, being picked up by the Doctor. Time swaps forms from Swarm to the Doctor in her black coat, which we saw in Chapter 3, Once Upon a Time. Time lets the Doctor go, revealing that she doesn't have much time left, saying it's coming to an end, no regeneration, no life, and to beware of the forces that force against her and their master. This ominous message predicting the Doctor's end was seen also with the 10th Doctor in Planet of the Ood, when Ood Sigma told him his song was coming to an end. And the Master puppeteering the forces against her are most likely Sasha's Master, who I'm sure we'll see again, possibly in the 13th Doctor's last episode, the Centenary Special. Time reunites the Doctor with her 3 cells becoming one again, and the Doctor deals with one last thing. Vinder and Kate confront the Grand Serpent, getting revenge on what he's done to them, with Vinder being exiled to Outpost Rose and Kate having to go dark and on the run for many years. They send him into one of the doors in the livable tunnels to an asteroid in space, isolated and alone with no escape. Carvanista is annoyed to be stuck with Vinder and Bell, who go off travelling together as they wait for their baby to arrive. Claire and Kate are dropped back on Earth, with Claire feeling guilty about Jericho's death, and Kate thanking the Doctor for saving Earth and saying how much she loves the Doctor's new regeneration, both now having very similar hairstyles. Kate says she hopes to meet this regeneration again, potentially setting up a return in one of the 3 specials next year. In the Liverpool Museum, Dan's doing a guided tour, the same thing we saw him do when we first met him in Chapter 1, showing how much he's done and seen in the past 6 chapters. He meets Di and invites her out for that drink they never got, but she declines the offer as he was late and most likely trying to process all that's happened to her inside Passenger. The Doctor and Yaz offer him to join the TARDIS with them, offering him his own bedroom, which many companions have had, including various 80s companions that we've seen on screen, and Amy and Rory, where they were originally given bunk beds. In a tear-jerking scene, the Doctor apologises to Yaz about not telling her anything about what she was looking for, telling her that she was trying to find out about her own past that she didn't know about, and telling Yaz she's going to tell her everything she knows. As Yaz goes to help Dan to his room, the Doctor takes out the fob watch from her pocket containing everything about her past life she knows nothing about. But in a surprising choice. She puts it into the TARDIS console, telling the TARDIS to put it somewhere safe and deep within the TARDIS, where she can never find it, as you hear the numerous voices tempting her to open it. She chucks it away but says, "Only if I really ask for it," teasing that we could see it again before our era ends, as she pulls the lever of the TARDIS to go into further adventures in time and space with Yaz and Dan. There was a lot going on in this episode, so many characters and plot lines. I don't think everything was going to be satisfactorily done, and also there was going to be stuff that was going to be left over, but as I say, I enjoyed it much better on a second time watch, and I kind of enjoy it the more I watch it. If you kind of let go of like, oh, that wasn't resolved, or that didn't make sense. It was fun to see Jodie have like the three Doctors. Kind of gave me vibes of like Journey's End. We've got the two 10th Doctors. I was very surprised we didn't say anything about the Fob Watch, as it's been the kind of tease all season, but it was cool to have the Doctor make the choice, being like, actually, I don't want to know. So it was a nice kind of like character arc for the Doctor to go on saying, you know, I don't need to know because I am the Doctor. It doesn't make a difference or about my past. So it'd be interesting to see going forward what is going to be taken forward. Obviously, we got the Division stuff. The Entity of Time, I presume, will come back. We've got the Master tease, obviously Kate Stewart. And to be honest, I would like to see most of these characters back again, really. Maybe not all at the same time at the end of the episode. Maybe they could return over the next 3. It was a big send-off, action-packed. There's a very emotional scenes. I'd like to see Swarm and Azor again, actually. I don't know if they will, because it does feel like they've kind of come to an end and, you know, they failed at doing what they were set out to do. It would have been interesting to see what the actual powers were as well, because it was a bit like, oh, now they can reverse their own powers, etc. Obviously, the Grand Serpent, he's been left out of there. So, yeah, I have to wait and see going forward what's going to be taken forward and what's going to stay in here. But we won't find out now really until next year. But as a whole, I really enjoyed Flux. Breakneck speed. It probably would have been nice if we did have like the full 10 episodes to kind of space out some of the stories instead of having it all in these 6. But obviously due to COVID, you know, they've obviously kind of stripped stuff back. It's going to be a really neat standout series when looking back on all the series of Doctor Who. It's really going to stick out as one of the most cinematic series Doctor have done. But we did get a trailer for the New Year's Day special titled Eve of the Daleks, which has got a love story set in a warehouse, which gave me vibes of Resolution, which had 2 people being like, will they, won't they get together? So I feel that's going to be kind of like a similar type of thing. And of course, Daleks, we've got 3 Daleks with cool new machine-style guns, and these are Execution Squad. And this will be on a repeat as they are stuck in a time loop. I haven't mentioned this at all because there's so many elements going on, but obviously the resolution of the TARDIS going to hell. Now, I think that the time loop is caused by the TARDIS being broken. Again, this wasn't mentioned at all. The TARDIS has been working fine for a bit, but I think now the Flux stuff's out the way. I think we're going to be now fully exploring why is the TARDIS breaking down. And there's some shots in the trailer where it's glowing red and there's cracks going through on the TARDIS exterior. So whether they land and the TARDIS is broken and causing them in the time loop with the Daleks, and obviously the TARDIS has technically saved them, we'll have to wait and see. But it'd be great to kind of watch that as a kind of fresh standalone story. I'm sure it'll be very fitting for New Year's Day. So there you go, that's my breakdown for Chapter 6 of finale of Flux, The Vanquishers. What did you think of the episode? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below, and going forward, what plot elements you hope to see continued, and how excited are you for Eve of the Daleks? I cannot wait. We've got a few weeks off, but I'm sure it'll come around very, very quickly. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye!